Why, of course. Free! 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 Oh, wow! Ha! That's my Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde impression. Gah! Robert Louis Stevenson had a dream. Yeah, what the hell was he up to that he was like these two guys? And there's this doctor that he's an upstanding citizen his whole life. He's been doing everything he can do to be a good person. He helps the poor. And then he devises this thing. He's like, this can take people to another level. This is what shows you what's missing in you. And I read that book, I think when I was living with Wilbur. I read the book, and I had that line, free, free, free. And then I was like, oh my God. When I read that line, it said it all. It took him, it made him into a little simian character. It took him the worst of things that he was hiding and just putting down on a hole all these years. He was the best person he could ever be. The best thing, I almost said. But the best was yet to come. And he released Hyde. And it was just this little simian character like my grandma chopping a fucking chicken head off, covered in blood and grinning and looking at me as that headless chicken runs across the yard. There's a connection. That was my father's mother. Lovely woman. Never said a word to me except that. With a blood-faced smile, she said who she was. She just had hurt something every once in a while to get by. But the thing is, that book, I read it, and then I watched it on TCM at Wilbur's. And this guy, Frederick March, they had all the things, and I just looked it up again. 1933, the original airing of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It was Frederick March. He won the Oscars, Academy Award for Best Actor. But as much as it seems like a hard thing to do, the same as Texas Chainsaw Massacre won an Oscar, the way I understand it, for Best Art Direction that year, which is the way a movie looks. That's a big deal. That's how you remember a movie. You might remember the lines, but the way you see it is what keeps the lines in place. And so that's it. This guy, Frederick March, won Best Actor in the Oscars in 1933. But the way I understand it, the only time there have ever been 2 awards given for Best Actor. And it was for him. And there was another one called The Champ, which I think was remade in the 80s, which I don't think did as well as the original. But whoever won Best Actor from The Champ, they both won them. It wasn't like you're first, you're second. It was like, I don't know which one's better. And having seen that movie with Frederick March, where he's just a brute and fucking brutalizing people, Hyde, free. I know that The Champ must have been a very good movie, but it's interesting to me more than anything. Let. Let me clear my throat. how they cover the idea in Jekyll and Hyde that this person was the upstanding citizen and been pushing the bad part of himself away for so long. He's produced a dichotomy by being able to bring those two together. If that's all you've got is two, bringing them together and finding a way to get through, you can push the things when you need to and lay back when you want to. It's a even flow. But if you create a dichotomy, one of them is going to fight itself to the surface, especially if it's been held down in a hole for too long. You got to let Judas out. So we look at somebody like Dwayne Smolars. I tell stories about him. Great guy, and he's always been a good friend. But I notice, having grown up and run into him from year to year, through the years, he went from being a mischievous child to a very upstanding person. He got the stuff out of him that was bad at a young age, and he became a decent, upstanding citizen. Skeeters. But if you take someone like little me, who grew up innocent, ignorant, and just full of bliss, and you have stuff pushed on you again and again, and people take advantage of you, there's nothing worse than somebody looking at you as a smiling person and thinking, I can take advantage of him. And you're like, now I gotta do it again. Learned it from my second brother. You just ride people and you get things straight. They think I'm so serious. The only reason anybody will ever believe me is if I act serious. You have to do these different things, but I went from being an innocent child to this. Devious children grow up the other way. So if you see your children acting mischievously, maybe you should just let them go. Bumblebee, 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 bumblebee.